Severin Films now has released on Blu-ray the 2004 horror comedy from director and effects artist Gabe Bartalos entitled Skinned Deep, starring Warwick Davis, a.k.a. Wicket the Ewok, a.k.a. Willow, or I think. I never saw Willow, but he's in Willow. Life's Too Short, the Ricky Gervais show. And it's an odd one. It's an odd one. This is a movie I'd never heard of, and so the Blu-ray was a totally fresh watch. I went in totally blind. It looks fabulous. It looks really good. A very bright, colorful transfer. 4:3, so I'm presuming this was shot on 16 millimeter. And it tells the tale, a tawdry, terrifying tale of a family, much like Hills Have Eyes or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A family who's on a road trip and their car breaks down and they get taken in by a kindly elderly lady who runs a roadside place and basically are captured and killed and whatever by a family of freaks. So one of the family members, the teenage daughter, is one of the family of freaks called Brain, who's basically this young guy in overalls with a brain that's this huge exposed brain over his head. He falls for her and wants to keep her as a pet or a love or both. And the story is basically her trying to escape and survive this weird ordeal. So you've got the guy with the weird big brain, and you've got this guy who's on the cover of the video box, it's kind of a pretty cool look, who's like this strange eye mask and big metal pointy jaw teeth and all that. It was basically a show, not a show reel, but a showcase for this effects artist who wanted to tell a story. The story, the vibe of the movie, it's like a mix of like House of a Thousand Corpses and Pee-wee's Playhouse as directed by David Lynch on an upbeat day. So there's elements of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's elements of Hills Have Eyes, there's elements of a lot of stuff we know. And of the movie Freaked, by Tom Stern and Alex Winter. Very much reminded of that movie. And it's that weird, I expected this movie to be made a lot earlier than it was. 2004, which in the scheme of things, if you do the math, was a long time ago. I figured this had more of an 80s, 90s feel to it. That period of effects where it was a lot of big, weird, bulbous, gruesome-looking, rubbery creatures, kind of gross, like covered in Vaseline. It kind of had that vibe to it. The set design is really wild, thus the Pee-wee's Playhouse reference. It's visually, a lot obviously went into this movie as far as production design went. Warwick Davis plays a character called Plates. And he's this guy with a backpack filled with dishes that he flings at people and kills them. Flings dishes with deadly skill was what I wrote in my notes that you can't see over there. And sort of annoying. I like Warwick Davis. He's great on Life's Too Short. Sort of wildly, annoyingly over the top in this movie. I believe just about all the dialogue, most of the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue is post-dubbed, and that gives it a weird feel. There are a couple of split-second cameos. They always say blink and you'll miss it, and they usually say that usually just means the person was in it for a few minutes or whatever. There's a blink and you'll miss it. Linda Blair cameo, like a split second. Forey Ackerman is in it, playing an elderly biker at one point. The effects are impressive. What they were able to achieve for probably little to no money was impressive, but I really didn't like this. I just found it really, it was very unfunny, very just, crude for crude's sake. I'm sure this movie has an audience. I'm sure this movie, through this release, will find an audience who likes it, but it's a little too trauma for me, that kind of thing. And I had a hard time. It's not that long, but I had a hard time getting through it. It's loaded with extras. You've got a lot of making of. You get a vintage making of. You get new retrospective interviews. You have a trailer. There's a whole bunch of extras on this. So if you're a fan of the movie, there's more to sink your teeth into than just the film itself, which again, as I say, looks fabulous. And if you're not a fan of the movie and you just need to know why, which was kind of where I was at. I was sort of like, what? And I watched enough of the extras to know, oh, okay, I get where and why now. So available now, you may love it. You may love it. Available on Blu-ray now from 2004 is Gabe Bartalos' Skinned Deep on Blu-ray.